Hi, today we'll be looking at angles. I'll share my screen with you and show you what the plan is. So the idea is we'll be able to apply the rules for angles in a triangle, angles around a point, and angles on a straight line. So I'll be able to work out missing angles using those rules. We'll be able to recognize and apply the rules for angles within parallel lines. And we'll be able to give reasons for our answer, which is a big part of the GCSE. Quite often, especially on the Edexcel, quite often questions ask you to identify an angle and give the reasons for your answer, which is like giving the rules you've used in which to find them. So, rule number 1. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So this rule is true for all straight lines. And when we talk about it, we talk about the angles around a little point on the straight line. It is not like anywhere a straight line and any angles. It's only around angles that meet at this point, a point on the straight line. So the angles add up to 180. So if we know what some of them are and we want to find a missing angle, what we know is we know that x, add 47, add 90, because this is obviously a right angle, equals 180 degrees. So the first thing I do is add the 47 and the 90, which tells me that x add 137 is equal to 180 degrees. Then do 180 minus 137. Now these can come up on calculator or non-calculator exams. So you've got to be able to do some simple taking away without a calculator. However, if it is on the calculator paper, please do use the calculator, even if you think you can do simple taking away. So in this case, x would be 43 degrees. So we add up the ones we know, we take it away from 180. So here's 3 for you to have a go at. If I was you, I'd pause the video and just try them. I'm going to work straight through them. So the first one, we know they add up to 180, so we just do 180 minus 78. And that will tell us what x is, which is 102 degrees. Good, for this one, I haven't labelled the x, but it's that one there. So remember, we add up the 2 that we know, or the however many we know. So that is 108. We do 180 minus our answer. So 180 minus 108 is 72 degrees. So x is 72 degrees. Now here, we've got 2 unknown angles. However, they're both labelled with the same letter. So if they're both labelled with the same letter, that means they are the same value. So all we have to do is we do 180 minus the one we know, just like we were doing before, which gives us 66. Now, because they're the same letter, we know that they're the same size. If they're the same size, all we need to do is divide that by however many there are. So in this case, there are 2, which means each of those angles is going to be 33 degrees. So the same letter means they're the same size. So recap, angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. That is the language you want to use when you're giving your reasons, but we'll talk about that later. Then, I mean, this is where it gets slightly tougher. So here we still have some straight lines and we have lots of algebra. Now we want to work out each of the angles. So let's think about what we know. We know that angles on a straight line add up to 180. So we know that 60 plus 3x plus x plus 10 plus 2x plus 20 is 180. We know that. It's our rule. So then let's collect our like terms. So we did a bit of simplifying previously. 3x and x is 4x. Add another 2x is 6x. We've got 60. Add 10 is 70. Add 20 is 90. So 6x plus 90 equals 180 degrees. Look, we've got an equation to solve. Let's take away the 90. So take away 90 from this side, leaves us with 6x. Take away 90 here, leaves us with 90. So I've got 6x is equal 90. We divide it by 6, that will tell us what 1x is. So 1x is 15. So x equals 15. Now we know that, we can work out all our missing angles. So this one here, pink one, is 3x. Well, that's 3 times 15, which is 45. Purple one here, x plus 10, so that'll be 15 add 10, 25. And the last one here is 2 lots of 15 is 30, plus 20 is 50. Now, if you want to double check your answer at this point, all you need to do is add together the angles you've got. And if it's correct, which I hope it is, should give us 180, which it does. So you see how when you've got an algebra bit, you need to remember your rule that angles on a straight line add up to 180. Just write them out, add it together. Simplify it and see what happens. So the trick with those kind of questions, that's hitting grade 4, grade 5, is just write something. If you know they add up to 180 added together, write them out, add it up. You don't even have to simplify. That would give you 1 mark. That line. Obviously, then simplifying would give you another mark, and solving would give you probably like your 3rd mark, possibly stretched to 4, depending on the question. So angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. So if we already know what one of them is, we know that something add 135 equals 180. So we've got to do the opposite of adding. We're simply going to do 180 minus the one we know. Sorry, oh, dearie me, let's start again. It's not 180 at all, is it? It's 360. I hope we're paying attention and noticed my deliberate error there. 360, because angles around a point add to 360. It's little mistakes like that you've got to be careful of and spot. There's no harm making them as long as you spot them. So 360 minus 135 is 225. And we know that's going to be about right because 180 would be is a straight line, isn't it? It's half a circle. So 360 is full circle. So angles around a point add to 360 degrees. So there's a couple for you to try. You can pause the video and have a go. Do it slightly quicker than I can. So again, what we know, we add up the ones we know. So we've got 112, add 68, add 145. Let's see what that equals. So 112 plus 68 plus 145 is 325. We want what's left to get to 360, so we're going to do 360 minus 325. Which is 35 degrees. So 35 degrees. Then this one here, remember this right angle is 90, so it's got a square angle, it's right angle, which is 90. So this time we want to add the ones we know. So 151, add 64, add 90. And then we want to see what is left to get to 360. So that adds up to 305. To find out what's left, we do 360 minus 305. Which is 55. So if you're on a non-calculator paper and you know you struggle with taking away, work it backwards. So for this one, you start on 305 and work out how much we need to add on to get to 360. So either way, you get the right answer. So angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. So then we get another one of these ones with algebra, look. Might get something like this and say work out what x is or work out what the angle is. So if I wanted to work out what x is, remember I use that rule. Angles around a point add up to 360. So let's add all the angles together. So remember, you don't have to do anything with them except write them out added up together to start with. So I'm working my way around the circle there. So I've got all of them. That equals, because I know angles around a point, 360 degrees. 1 mark scored. Then I'm going to combine them. So I've got 7, 10, 14, 19, 25 x's. I've got 6 minus 18 is minus 12. Minus 12 add 22 is 10. So it'll be 25 plus 10 equals 360. So then we've got that's the second mark scored. Then we want to solve that. So we take away 10. So 25x is our 350. X is going to be 350 divided by 25. So x is going to be 14. Once we've got x as 14, we can work out each individual angle. So 7 times 14 plus 6 is, that one's 104. 3 times 14 is 42. 4 times 14 is 56. 5 times 14 minus 18 is 52. And 6 times 14 plus 22 is 106. Remember, if we've done it right, if I add those together, they should give me 360, which they do. So we've done them right. So you can see this again, you're hitting your kind of grade 5 topic here. You're asked with your angles around a point. So it's incorporating that algebra into the angles. So you've got 2 rules so far. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. Angles around a point add up to 360. Then we've got, these are around a point as well, but these are what we know as vertically opposite angles. So if you have 2 lines that are crossing to make an X shape, the angles opposite are equal to each other. So this angle here with the blue line is equal to this angle here. It is only true if it's 2 lines that cross. This angle here, the pink line, is equal to the one underneath. So they're what we know as vertically opposite angles. They are equal to each other. That's quite a handy rule to remember. So if you've got 2 lines that cross, the angles opposite each other are equal. So you might get some questions like this. 2 lines crossing, you only need to know one of the angles to work out the others. So first one here, 132 degrees. Well, B will also be 132 degrees because it's opposite. We also know that A and C are the same. So we've got two choices here. We can either use angles on a straight line add up to 180, in which case we just do 180 minus 132 because we've got a straight line. Hang on, let me get a highlighter. Straight line that is going down here. So you can either look on either side. Oh, more straight line tool still. You can look on either side. There's our straight line. Those two will add up to 180. Or you can do it on the other side. Or you could look at angles around a point, add up to 360. So you could work it out that way. So 180 minus 132 is 48. If that one's 48, then that one must also be 48. Because it's a straight line, its opposite angles are equal. Same applies for the other ones here. So we've got 21, which means E must be 21. If I want to work out D, I do 180 minus 21, which is 159. So that means D must be 159, which means F must be 159. Y is 110. To get X, we do 180 minus 110. So we're looking at our straight line, which is 70, which means Z must be 70 because they're vertically opposite. So the opposite angle rule is quite an easy one. As long as you remember, it only occurs when two lines cross. So it's not all meeting at a point, it's where two lines cross. Then rule number 4 is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So angles in a triangle. So this is very much like angles on a straight line. What you do is you take the ones you already know, add them together, and say what is left to get to 180. So 180 minus 100 means that there is 80 degrees left. So you add up the two you already know, take it away from 180. So angles in a triangle add up to 180. All of these rules, the way I've worded them at the top of the screen, that is the way you want to word them if a question asks you to give reasons. We'll do some more of those towards the second part once we've gone through the rules, but those are the specific words you need to use. I have seen exam papers where they have not allowed a straight line equals 180. You had to have the words angles on a straight line add up to 180. So you've got to be really particular with your wording. If you memorize what I've written on the page as the wording, you will get the marks. So have a go. Again, pause the video, try it yourself. So first one here, we've got 60 add 90 is 150. Remember, we want it to add up to 180, so we do 180 minus 150, which is 30. So B would be 30. Remember, calculator or non-calculator can be. Second one here, look, we know this one's 90. So again, we've got 90 plus 27 equals 117. 180 minus 117 is 63. Yeah, 63. So 63 degrees. Now then, if we look at this orange triangle, we know one of them's 20. We don't know the other two. One of them's labelled with the letter, one of them's not labelled. But these two little lines here tell us that this triangle, those two lengths are the same, which means this is an isosceles triangle. So an isosceles triangle has two sides the same and two angles the same. So what that tells me is the two angles at the bottom of the sides are the same. So this angle here and this angle here, because they're both, those two sides are the same, the bottom of those are equal. So what I can do is I can do the 180 minus the 20 that we already know about, gives me 160 degrees. I then split that 160 degrees between two, which means each angle is 80 degrees. So if you've got those dashes on the side of it, that means it's an isosceles triangle. That means they are the same length. And you can use the idea that if they're the same length, then two of the angles will be the same. Again, with an equilateral triangle, if you had all three sides the same length, that means all three angles are the same. So we've had three rules so far. Angles on a straight line add up to 100, sorry, four rules. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Angles around a point or around a circle add up to 360 degrees. Vertically opposite angles are equal. And angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Then we start to look at the parallel line rules. So these are the harder angles. And these rules only occur when we have parallel lines. So parallel lines are lines which never meet. So these lines here are never ever going to meet because they're going at the same distance apart all the way, like a bit like train tracks. Parallel lines are often highlighted with arrows. So not only do they tell you in the question they're parallel, they put little arrows on them somewhere. So you know that they're parallel. So these rules only apply if we've got parallel lines. Now the first one here is what we call alternate angles. Now you are expected to know the proper names for them. So an alternate angle is when one of the angles are on alternative sides of the line that's cutting down the middle. And the alternate angles often form like a Z shape or backward Z shape. So these two angles here, they're on opposite sides of this line that's cutting down the middle. They are what's known as alternate angles. They are equal to each other. It could have been this angle here, the angle on the alternate line side of the line, the opposite side of the line, is that one. Those two that I've just drawn are both equal to each other. So alternate angles are equal. So they're both inside the parallel lines. They're on alternate side of the lines. That's why they're called alternate angles. This next one, this one here, these are what are known as corresponding angles. Now, corresponding angles are also equal. So what you do is you look at where it crosses, and if it's the same angle on each sort of four-way line, they're corresponding. So those blue ones are corresponding because they're both on the top right of that connection. This one here and this one here are corresponding because they are on the bottom right of that line. This one here are corresponding. This one here and this one here are corresponding. So they are what we call corresponding angles because they're in a corresponding position on the diagram. they are equal to each other. So you've got alternate angles are equal, corresponding angles are equal. The last one here we've got to know is what we call co-interior angles. Now, co-interior angles are both in between the two parallel lines. They're on the same side of the line as each other. Now, co-interior angles are not equal to each other. But co-interior angles always add to make 180 degrees. So if they're on the same side of the line, both inside the parallel lines, they are co-interior, they add to make 180 degrees. So the co-interior angles could have been this one and this one. So these two would add to make 180 degrees. So you've got 3 rules that you are expected to memorize in terms of parallel lines. Alternate angles, where they're on opposite sides of the line, they're equal to each other. Corresponding angles, so when they're in the same position on a different crossover bit. And co-interior angles, when they're both inside the parallel lines on the same side. As I said, these rules only apply if the lines are parallel. So you can't just use them for any set of lines, they have to be parallel. So let's combine them all with exam questions. So all of these rules together. So here we've got A and B and BC are perpendicular lines. So the word perpendicular means at right angles. So we know that ABC is a right angle. Find the value of x. Well, what we need to do, work out what we've got already. So 25 add 25 is 50. If it's a right angle, it's going to add up to 90. 90 minus 50 is 40. So x would be 40 degrees. So remember that word perpendicular means it makes a right angle. It does kind of look like it in this picture, but do not rely on the picture to be accurate all the time. Okay, then we've got this one. Calculate the size of angle x. So we look and say, what have we got? Well, actually, look, we've got a point. We know angles around a point. So if it asks us for a reason, this is what we'd be writing. These exact words. So that would be our reason if it was to ask us. So we add up the ones we already got. We take it away from 360 because angles around a point add up to 360. So x would equal 250 degrees. So we're finding that rule that solves it. And as I say, if the questions were to ask you to give a reason for your answer, the rule that you have used to work it out is what they mean by the reason. Okay, then we've got some parallel lines, look. So I can see straight away these arrows are telling me these lines are parallel. So I know I'm going to be thinking about alternate angles, corresponding angles, and things like that. So RS and TU are parallel lines. PQ is a straight line. An angle of size 125 is shown on the diagram. Write down the letter of one other side angle of size 125 and give a reason. Now we have 2 options here. We can either say B, because vertically opposite angles are equal. So look in this top bit, we've got B is opposite the 125. Or we could say D, because D is a corresponding angle. So for our reasons, we needed to pick the letter because D is in the same position on the next joint down. Now, it's not enough to say just corresponding angles. You've got to say corresponding angles are equal. So part 2 says explain why A plus B plus C is 235. Well, we know that A plus B plus C plus 125 is equal to 360 because angles around a point add to 360. So then we know that if we take away 25, so 360 minus 125 is 235. So A plus B plus C must equal 235. Hopefully that's starting to make some sense, these angle questions. We might get things like this. ABC is a straight line. Work out the size of the angle marked X. So remember, angles on a straight line add up to 180. So we're going to do 180 minus the one we know. So that angle is 30 degrees. Give a reason. Remember to use the word angles on a straight line. Add to 180. Then the diagram below is wrong. Explain why. Well, let's add it up and see. So 90 add 280 equals 370. So it's wrong because angles around a point should add to 360. So that is why it is wrong. So you're looking for that rule that tells you right or wrong. We go again. AB is a straight line. Work out the size of angle X. So remember what we do is we take the ones we know and add them up. 103 add 49 is 152. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. So 180 minus 152 is 28. So X equals 28 degrees. Again, I shall say it, hopefully it will sink in. If it asks you to give a reason for your answer, you must use the word angles on a straight line. So it's looking for angles, straight line, because it's not just angles on a line, it has to be straight line. Add to 180 degrees. So make sure you use the word angles. Oh, this one looks a bit more complicated. So these kind of questions, 3 marks, look. AB is parallel to CD. Remember, it also has these arrows that tells us these two are parallel lines. FG is a straight line. Work out the size of angle X. Now, sometimes on these diagrams, it's not easy to see exactly what you need to do straight off. So what I often do with students is I tell them just to fill out any angles that they know or they can see straight away that might be the same. So some of them will be going, oh, do you know what? I've got a straight line here. I can work this one out. So 180 minus 53 is 127. Well, I know opposite angles. So they might start with this and they go, hang on a minute, look, I've got corresponding angles. So I also know this one is 53. And then all of a sudden, you might see what you need to do. So the more you fill them out, the more obvious it might become on what you need to do. So 53 add 48 is 101. Because I can see I've got a straight line, I can do 180 minus 101 is 79. So X would be 79 degrees. And suddenly it becomes a little bit easier. You might have noticed that this is 127. This corresponds with this whole bit. So you could have just done 127 minus the 48. Trick with these angle questions is there's always more than one way. And the more angles you fill out, the more ways there are to find the answer. So it's just looking at the diagram, thinking, I'm going to fill out the angles I know. It's also pretty beneficial for like the reasons, when it says give reasons. If you filled out all the angles on the diagram, the examiners don't know which reasons you've used. So you can generally get away with picking a couple and writing them down, just random ones. Okay, so here we've got our one that's a bit more complicated. So lines A, B, C, and D and E intersect as shown. Lines A and B are parallel. Work out the size of angle X. So again, this is one of those situations where you go, do you know what? Let's just work out any we can work out. Because it might help us. It's 3 marks. It's not pretty. It's not obvious which way to go. So I'm going to fill out the ones I know. So I know that's 52 because that's opposite. I know that this one is 70 because angles on a straight line add up to 180. I know that this one is 131 because angles on a straight line, my straight line here, add up to this. Now I also know that this is a 4-sided shape here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So angles in a 4-sided shape, quadrilateral, add up to 360 degrees. Just think about a square. So what I can do is I can do 360, take away 131, take away 70, take away 52, and that gives me 107 there. Then I've got another straight line. 180 minus 107 is 73 degrees. Now, if you've paused the video and had a go at it and done it a different way, as long as you've got the same answer as me, it does not matter how you did it. So you might have worked out, I don't know, what else might you have worked out? You might have worked out that angle to work out that angle. You could have worked out, I don't know what you could have worked out. There's lots of different ones you could have done. You could have done that one. Yeah, loads of different ways. But anyway, if you've done it slightly different to me, that's fine, as long as you've got the answer 73. Excellent. And on to the last one. This is a 5-mark question. So ADC is a triangle. AED and ABC are straight lines. EB is parallel to DC. work out, oh, sorry, angle ABC. So all this is telling us is what's on the picture, really. So we've got our parallel lines because we've got our arrows. We've got the two angles it's telling us about. Work out the size of angle EAB. So to get EAB, we start at E, we go up to A, down to B. So the angle is the one in the middle. So we want to work out this angle. I'm going to call it X, so I know what I'm trying to work out. So again, fill out anything you know, anything you spot. So rules you might spot, you might go, oh, I've got some corresponding angles here. Let's 63 and 63. Got a straight line here, 148 means that'll be 32, which also means that'll be 32 because they're corresponding. Now we've got a triangle at the top or the big triangle, up to you. So the triangle at the top, we know that 63 plus 32 is 95. 180 minus 95 is 85. So that means X is 85 degrees. Now, if that's all you'd written, the most marks you could get is 3. Because we've kind of ignored this, you must give a reason for each stage of your working. So when it says you must give a reason, it means you must give an angle rule that you've used. So what you could do is, as you write one down, you could label your diagram. Well, I know that that's of 63 because I knew that corresponding angles are equal. So all it's asking you to do is write down, how did you know that that angle was that? I knew that this was 32 because angles on a straight line add to 180. So all you're doing is you're writing down what rule did you know to get that. I knew that X was 85 because angles in a triangle add to 180 degrees. So you can annotate the picture if you like, or you could do it underneath. You've just got to make sure those rules are there, written with the proper language and nice and clear on the page. If all you do is find the answer, you're only giving yourself, you're losing yourself at least 2 marks, even though you must have known the rules to be able to work out the angles and the answer. So just write down those reasons. Make sure you read that bit. It's a really common place people lose marks. Good. Excellent work today. So that is the rules of angles. I'll put some sheets for you to practice on the email, and I hope that that's really helped you get it clear in your head as to what you do. And I wish you the best of luck with your revision. See you next time.